All right, so let's get started. My goodness. So many people, I don't know what to do. Hello, everybody, and in person, and hello to everybody online. Welcome to the Dharma Temple, and welcome to the Wednesday night loving kindness meditation. My name is Alex. It is wonderful to be here with you tonight. That's every night that I'm here with you. It's a bit cooler tonight. It's really nice. There's a lot of people here. For the people online, there's like a lot of people in the temple. I'm not used to it. I like it. And you know, we had last week. If you were here last week, we had we had story time. So the story time was the Buddha's Enlightenment story, which was the story of from when the Buddha was born until shortly after he got enlightened. And it's a story that I really, really, really like to tell. And so it was really fun to do that. And, you know, when I really get into the story, I lose all track of time. And so I went about 10, 15 minutes over. So thank you for staying. If you were here last week and you stayed, I do appreciate that. But, you know, the story is the story. And I don't, and the more that I tell it, the more I don't like to shorten it. I just like to, you know, take however long that it takes. But I do want to be respectful of your time as well, of course. So anyway, it was a good story. I really enjoyed it. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the Buddha's first sermon. And again, it's, you know, the representation of the Buddha's first sermon is the tapestry above the door right there. You'll see the Buddha talking to 5 monks. So he's talking to 5 monks, and he's giving the very first talk where he talks about the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And when he was giving his talk, he noticed one of his monks got it. And so one of his monks, and you'll see this a lot in many of the Buddhist stories, that one of his monks, the Buddha saw in his eyes that he got it, that he got to that first stage of enlightenment. It's called stream entry. And the Buddha immediately stops and he goes, Anya Kandanya, Anya Kandanya. And the monk is named Kandanya. And Anya Kandanya means Kandanya knows. Kandanya knows. He gets it. And even though they call it just the first stage of enlightenment, it's incredibly hard to get to. You know, it's, you know, I don't want to be too dramatic, but it's really hard. It's really hard to do. And just with that talk, he saw that Kandanya got it. So this is called stream entry, or getting a taste of the deathless. The deathless is just another word for Nirvana. You got a taste. And the great thing about getting a taste of the deathless and getting to this point called stream entry is that it's impossible to go backwards at this point. If you get to stream entry, if you're a stream enterer, or sometimes they call it a stream winner, you cannot go backwards. You can't like backslide into old habits and old suffering and old ways of harming and yourself and others. It's not possible. Because of what you know and what you've experienced, you cannot go back. And which is wonderful. That, and you're guaranteed to live no more than 7 lifetimes in a human realm before you become enlightened, become fully enlightened. It's very exciting. So what happens is, and I wish I had like a whiteboard I could show it to you, but imagine like a circle. This is the circle where everybody lives, where everybody is. This is called Samsara. And Samsara is just the cycle of birth and death, that we have on this planet. And we just keep going around and around. We're born because of our ignorance, and we live, and we have some karma that we accumulate and get rid of, and accumulate and get rid of. And then if we're not enlightened and we die, then we come back, fortunately, hopefully in the human realm, and we just keep going around and around and around. So this is called Samsara. And right outside Samsara is called the stream of transmigration. So in this stream of transmigration, this is the stream that we're talking about when we call you've entered the stream. In this stream of transmigration, you're well on your way. You're not going to go back to Samsara more than 7 times. And you'll always be a stream enterer. So you'll always be at least that. And then on the other side of that, so you have Samsara, you have the stream, and on the other side of that is Nirvana. We cannot describe Nirvana. There's no description for Nirvana, because everything in this world, everything is conditioned. Fabricated is another word for that. It's a construct. It's another word for that. And Nirvana is the unconditioned, unfabricated, unconstructed. We have no way to describe that as to what it is. But we know that's the goal. It's the deathless. And there's this one metaphor that I've heard, actually it might be a simile, somebody tell me, for Nirvana, for the deathless. So pretend that you're in a desert and you are hungry and you're hot and you're thirsty. There's no shelter or food or water anywhere near you. You're very, very, you're in a very vulnerable position. You've been out there a long time. And finally, after walking miles and miles and miles and miles and miles, you see a well. And that it's not a mirage, it's an actual well, right? And you crawl and you walk and whatever towards it, and you're almost on your last legs, and you finally get to this well, and you put your head over and you look into it, and you can see the water flowing at the bottom of the well, and then you kind of get a whiff. You kind of you feel the coolness. And it's almost quenching your thirst, but you feel that coolness. That's what getting a taste of the deathless is like. And that's what entering the stream is like. So you get just a little whiff. And even just a little whiff is enough to prevent you from going backwards. So it's the end of suffering. No suffering, no physical form, no feeling, no sensations, no perceptions, no volition, no consciousness. No. So we have to describe Nirvana by what it's not. Because we can't describe Nirvana by what it is, because it's not conditioned. And we're using conditioned languages. So we try to get to it by what it's not. Absolute freedom, the complete ending of suffering. And this Nirvana has just a couple of properties, right? Because Nirvana, the word Nirvana means unbinding. So the fuel is unbound from its source or from its sustenance, like the kindling. So there's Nirvana with remainder, which means there's Nirvana that you experience, like the Buddha experienced, and like the Arhants experienced in this life, where you still have a physical body. I mean, when this physical body dies, that's nirvana without remainder. And that's a completely going out. Now, when you have nirvana with remainder while you're still alive, the embers are still warm. But there will never be any fuel added to them to light that fire again. And so just this idea of Kandanya getting to that first stage of enlightenment, he's like got it automatically. And that's what I like about a lot of these Buddhist stories. Like one of the other monks in this group of 5, his name is Asaji. And shortly after the Buddha became enlightened, the people who were eventually going to be his 2 chief disciples, Sariputra and Moggallana, they started on their own enlightenment journey, and that's another story. It's a fun story, I love it. So they were looking for a teacher. They found one. They didn't like him very much, so they were looking for another one, and they wandered off separately to go find another teacher. And this Asaji was newly being trained by the Buddha, and he was walking in a manner, he was walking to his alms round to get food for the day, and the way he was walking was so mindful and so perfect and so slow and so purposeful that they knew, these Sariputra and Moggallana knew that he must have something, and they asked, "Who is your teacher?" So he went to Sariputra first, or Sariputra saw him first, and they said, "Who is your teacher?" And he goes, the newly enlightened one, the Buddha, was fully enlightened. "And can you tell me about his teaching?" He says, "Because look, I'm really, really new. I can't describe it in detail, but here, I have this 4-line stanza that I can give you." And in the middle of his 4-line stanza, Sariputra gained stream entry. That's how powerful it was. Then he goes and he finds his friend Moggallana and says, "I found somebody who's going to be our teacher. He is he is fully enlightened." And he goes, "Well, what's his teaching?" So he recites that same 4-line stanza to Moggallana. He reaches stream entry. That's how powerful it was. And, and we see this a lot in not just Buddhist story, in Buddhist tradition, but in Hindu tradition too, where this happens, where the master who is fully enlightened is just talking to his student, or maybe he's talking to somebody else, and he's just listening, and he gets it and becomes fully enlightened. It gives him the Dharma. And so that's what happened to Sariputra and Moggallana too. It happened at different times. Sariputra needed a little more seasoning, I guess you could say, because he was going to be the elder of the 2 chief disciples. It's a little bit higher. But fascinating stories, and stories that I love to tell. And I love these stories of, like the Buddha's just talking to somebody, and they either get a taste of the deathless, which is the first stage of enlightenment, or they become fully enlightened. I don't know if that happens anymore these days. Maybe. I'm not really sure. But I love these stories, these traditions, the traditions of these stories. It's really, really super fun. But today we're going to talk about, and we're going to do a meditation on loving kindness. Is there anyone here who this is your first time to the Dharma Bum Temple? So is there anyone here, this is not your first time to the Dharma Bum Temple, but it's your first time to Wednesday? Nice. Well, thank you for coming. Absolutely. It's wonderful to have all of you here. So we're going to do a meditation on loving kindness. And the word that we're talking about when we talk about loving kindness, the Buddhist word is metta, M-E-T-T-A. And this is an old Pali word. Pali is a language that's pretty close to what the historical Buddha spoke, we think. And when translated into English, it can mean a number of things: loving kindness, unconditional friendliness, goodwill, inoffensiveness, concord, amity. All of these things are wonderful representations of loving kindness. And so loving kindness, metta is just a wish to be happy, a wish for ourselves to be happy, a wish for others to be happy, but also a wish for ourselves and others to do the things that cause happiness. And if you know the motto of the Dharma Bum Temple, you know what causes happiness. So the motto of the Dharma Bum Temple is think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. We have it printed on t-shirts in the gift shop. If you ever want to buy one of those, I certainly have one of those. And these are the things in a nutshell that causes happiness, because they don't harm anybody. They don't harm ourselves. They don't harm another person. And that's the other wonderful thing about loving kindness, is that our loving kindness, when we do loving and kind things, they never get in the way of another person's loving kindness, because they're non-harming. So non-harming things never would get in your way of doing loving kindness, right? So my loving kindness will never get in the way of yours. Yours will never get in the way of mine. It's harmless and blameless in that way. All right. So how we do this practice is since none of you are new to the Dharma Bum Temple, I'm not going to give you instructions on seating or anything like that, but we're going to get connected to the breath first. We're going to spend a few minutes getting connected to the breath, and then we're going to do loving kindness for our benefactor. And a benefactor is anyone who has shown us great love or great kindness. Not a romantic partner. Let's try to stay away from romantic partners, but anyone else is fair game. Mother, father, brother, sister, best friend, favorite teacher, Oprah, whomever. Meaning you don't even have to know them personally, but they've meant something to you. And then we're going to imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. So we already have the experience of their love and their kindness in their own heart. That's why they're a benefactor. So we just got to recall that and imagine them doing this practice for us, and just allowing all of that love and kindness into our heart again. And then we're going to do this practice for ourselves. And then we're going to do this practice for all beings in all directions. Right? All beings. Then we're going to have a period of silence, and then we'll finish the rest of the class. I'll take questions. I can talk about the first sermon that he gave. It all depends. Let's see where we go. Any questions before we start? All right. Let's see what we got here. Hi, Tamara. Hi, Poetry. All right. We'll take your question after the meditation, and then hopefully we'll get your answer. All right, everybody ready? Let's go do that. So just allow your eyes to close, making sure you have that seated position that's nice and comfortable and sustainable, so you're not likely to move around too much. And when we sit like a Buddha. And you can even imagine yourselves as a Buddha sitting underneath your own tree of enlightenment, because each Buddha has their own tree of enlightenment. So you can choose whatever tree you want. sitting ready for the day's abiding. So at first, let's just get connected to the breath. Let's just take a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. Not forcing the breath, letting the breath be quite easy and natural at first. But then after a few breaths, just find that breath that's going to put the mind and the body at ease. Maybe you want to take a deeper inhale or a deeper exhale, or a longer one or a shorter one. You're encouraged to experiment and see what's going to work for you. Keeping the mind centered. With a centered mind, you get a calm mind. With a calm mind, discernment arises. Wisdom arises. If you have a thought that arises, some thought of the past or the future filling the mind, it's okay. Just use this technique called labeling. So you just label it thinking and come back to the breath. So just for the next few moments, just rest as gently as you can in the sensations of the breath. And so to begin our formal practice of loving kindness, we're going to think of a benefactor. Again, a benefactor is anyone who has shown you great love and great kindness. Someone that's really easy to have these feelings for. You have a lot of flexibility here. They can be living, they can be not living. Again, not a romantic partner normally, but anyone else is fair game. So just call this person to mind. And you can either just radiate loving kindness to them, and however you understand that word radiate, wishing them happiness, wishing that they do the things that cause happiness, which is their positive and well-intentioned thoughts, words, and actions. Or you can just repeat phrases of loving kindness for them. Phrases like, may you be happy. May you do the things that cause happiness. May you be safe from inner and outer danger. May you be well in body and mind. May you be at peace and live at ease in this world. Just use one or more of those phrases. Smiling as you do, because smiling helps a great deal. Just having this easy, relaxed attitude about this meditation, while still keeping 25% of your attention on the breath to keep you anchored to the present moment. Just for the next few moments, we'll do this practice of loving kindness for our benefactor. Now, shifting our focus from loving kindness for our benefactor to now imagining our benefactor doing the same practice for us. Again, we already have the experience of our benefactor's love and kindness in our own heart. We know what it feels like. We know how good it feels. So just imagine your benefactor looking at you, smiling, either radiating loving kindness for you or saying the phrases of loving kindness for you. And your only job is just to receive all of it, again, in your heart. Sometimes it helps to put your hand over your heart. And if you feel any tightness or tension, any part of you that says, no, I can't receive all of this, just notice it. Take a deep breath. Exhale and just breathe into that tension or tightness. If it loosens, that's fine. If it doesn't, that's also fine. To give that tension some loving kindness. Accept all of your benefactor's loving kindness into your heart. So we'll do this for the next few moments. Now shifting our focus again from imagining our benefactor doing this practice for us to now, can we do this practice for us, for ourselves? And so call to mind your own wish to be happy, your own wish to be safe and protected, to be healthy, free from harm, to feel good, at peace, to be happy. And know that it's a wish that every human being has for themselves. We may go about it in unskillful ways sometimes, but it's still a wish that we have for ourselves. So you can either just repeat these phrases of loving kindness for yourself. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. Or you can just imagine your heart just getting bigger, like the Grinch. His heart was too small. He made his heart bigger. Can you make your heart bigger? Bigger, warmer, softer. So we'll do this for the next few moments. Loving kindness for yourself. Finally, we can explore the limitless possibility of the heart to do this practice for all beings in all directions, to include all beings in all directions in our loving kindness practice. It's the possibility that everybody has. Even if you don't think it's true, you have this, that is the possibility. So we're going to just explore this by just going as far out as you can, including as many people as you can. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe from inner and outer danger. May all beings be well in body and mind. May all beings be at peace and live at ease in this world. We'll do this for the next few moments to end our meditation. Allow your eyes to open. So let's just take the next couple moments out in silence as you stretch your arms and you stretch your legs, keeping that mindfulness of loving kindness about you still. We'll take questions here in a minute. Ooh. All right, so any questions on the instructions at all? Hopefully they were relatively straightforward. And now, I'm always, and this goes for anybody here or online, I'm always interested to know, what your experience of meditation is. And so every meditation can be different. So you can talk about, something that was easier for you or harder for you, or any experience that you had in meditation. Also, I'll just open it up to any questions you have about practice or anything like that as well. Yes.
So I found it easier to label thoughts as thoughts and let them pass. But I have certain physical issues that cause physical pain, and so I didn't want to change position because I didn't want to distract myself from where I was. But at the same time, the position that I was in is causing nerve pain. And so I would just ask, when that happens when you're meditating, how would you respond? Because it became so distracting that I was able to stay in the loving kindness, but it was like everything else was blocked out. It was just pain and loving kindness. So it's pain and loving. And so how would you say to try to maybe focus away from that? Mm-hmm. Is it okay to reposition if you need to?
Yeah, so first of all, let's start with the pain really quickly, because there are plenty of people, whether they have some sort of disability or not, where it's going to be in some sort of physical pain, because, this is a long time to stay still. I mean, we want to really try to stay still as humanly possible, but sometimes we have to itch or we're in physical pain or something like that. In physical pain, a really good thing to do is just try to stay with the physical pain and not let it, and understand that it's painful, but not let it cause suffering. And it's really kind of a hard thing to do. And it takes a while. So we want to try to stay with that pain as much as possible. But we don't want to be a masochist about it, especially if we're dealing with any kind of disability or anything like that. Look, I know this is going to happen. So is it okay to reposition? Of course it is. Because we are dealing with the loving kindness meditation, so we want to be able to stay as focused on that as much as possible. So can you reposition? Of course you can. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, of course. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Do they teach something different every night?
Yeah, so at the Dharma Bum Temple, so like Monday, there's like a Zen night. Tuesday, Jeff does his thing, both at 7. Wednesday, it's me at 7. Thursday, like tomorrow, is more like understanding Buddhist concepts and thought. It's not a meditation. It's just like, hey, I want to understand more about Buddhism, and so Travis does that. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Saturday, Jeff.
Yeah, I know about the
Yeah, and so there's like a recovery sangha
right.
as well. And so there's something different all the time. And so go ahead and look at the board or the website, the board right outside here, or the website. There's always something for you. So, yeah, so we'll go you and then you. It's Diana, right? Diana, sorry.
I was wondering, are we going to start the program as far as distributing food again?
So food redistribution, which was a program that we had pre-pandemic, and that we've had for many, many years, where we would get food donated to us, and we would assemble it, and we would go out and feed the homeless, the unhoused population, right? And so that was so fun. I loved it. So much fun. And it's such a wonderful thing to do, to really kind of experience. And what's really interesting about that is that, when I did it almost every week for like a year and a half. And it was added so much to my practice and my understanding. But a lot of people did it like one time, and it was like they couldn't do it anymore. It was literally too hard for them just to see all that suffering, to see all of that, and I totally understand that, but I don't think so that we have any immediate plans. I mean, that's certainly we want to get back to that point, of course. What we want to do, so we want to make sure that it's safe and it's the right time and all those different types of things, because all the assembly happens here. And we just started with, having masks be optional here. Encouraged, but optional. So it'll be a process, but we want to get back there. Yes, absolutely. And then you had a question too.
Just wanted to know about the morning meditations that the same people or the different people that get those meditations.
Yeah, so I mean, the morning meditations, there's like 2 different ones, and you can come to either one of them. They're silent meditations, so there's not a leader. And so you can just come and sit. So you just come and sit and do your practice. So yeah, different. This is not really a leader. There's someone who rings a bell and to start and rings a bell to stop, but I mean, not like a leader. So yeah, if you have the time, and we would love to have you. Absolutely.
It's not happening this weekend because of the roof.
Right, it's not happening this week because of the roof. Right.
I just didn't want anyone to comment.
But like again, not this week because of the roof, but next week should be fun.
It's really helpful.
That's really helpful. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else for tonight? Yes, sir.
Do you have like a favorite portion of the meta practice?
A bigger portion of.
More favorite.
Oh, do I have one? I always like doing loving kindness for myself. The thing that seemed really was hardest at first, I like the most now. Because I understand how important it is. I understand now, I have much better understanding of, if I have this feeling in my own heart, I don't want to transfer it. I don't want to harm anybody else. It's the best way to not harm yourself and not harm anybody else, is to have this feeling of fullness in your heart. It's when your heart is just so filled with loving kindness that there's no other room for anxiety and depression and worry about what other people think of me, and all those other types of like recursive thoughts that just kind of fill the mind all the time, and that I don't want anyone else to feel that way either. So that's my favorite part of this meditation. Love it. And like I said, I'll say this again because I have a lot of new people here. You can do loving kindness for only yourself. And that's a complete practice of loving kindness. As a matter of fact, I think some people, I would recommend, especially in this traumatized society that we live in, that if you only did loving kindness for yourself for a good 7 years, that'd be perfect. That'd be perfect. All right, so thank you guys for coming. We're gonna have our announcements, and then we'll do our dedication of merit afterwards. You guys, see you guys later.
All right.